Robbie Williams Rewind.
Welcome to Robbie Williams Rewind. We are the champions. I'm Matt.
And I'm Lucy.
And along with help from special guests, we take you on an in-depth rewind through the solo career of multi-award winning singer, songwriter and entertainer Robbie Williams.
Today we are ecstatic to welcome an absolute legend, without whom it's unlikely Robbie would have celebrated his 25th year as a solo artist recently. The one and only, the musical genius, Guy Chambers.
Hello, Guy.
Hi, Guy.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us here to the studios.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. As we're sure everyone knows, Guy co-wrote and co-produced Robbie's first 5 albums from Life Thru A Lens to Escapology. They then had a break and reunited in 2013 for Swings Both Ways album and have worked together on and off ever since.
Guy's won multiple awards for his work, including 3 Brits, 4 Ivor Novellos and a Q Classics Songwriter Award. Alongside Steve Power, he also won Producer of the Year at the 1998 International Managers Forum Awards, following the incredible success of Life Thru A Lens.
He's also worked with loads of other artists, including Kylie, Melanie C, Beverly Knight, Natasha Bedingfield, Anastasia, Kathy Dennis, Example, Julian Lannon, and Mark Ronson, and probably hundreds more.
So, Guy, tell us about your background and how you got into music.
My background was that my dad was a musician. He was in the London Philharmonic Orchestra. And my mother used to work for Decca Records. So there was a combination of classical sounds in the house with my dad practicing the flute. And my mum had a very big record collection, which she pinched from Decca. Lots of not-for-sale records lying around. So, and had piano lessons from the age of 5. Classical piano lessons, and then guitar lessons from the age of 12 or 13.
Right. Great.
Mm-hmm.
So your family were supportive of you getting into music?
Yeah. They saw that I had talent, and they encouraged it very, very much so. I wrote a string quartet when I was 11, and that got professionally performed by a proper string quartet. And then I wrote an opera when I was at school, and that got performed by the school. I was very, very encouraged to follow my dream.
And how much did moving to Liverpool when you were 13 change your life in terms of your influences and the people that you met?
Massively. Before that, we were living in the suburbs in Surrey. It was a bit boring. And the school I went to was a dump school. It was it was a very difficult school for me. And to suddenly be in Liverpool, when my parents said we're moving to Liverpool, for me, that was a dream, because I'm such a Beatle fan. I was obsessed with the Beatles as a child. I still am as an adult.
Saw the posters on the way in.
Yeah, I am absolutely obsessed with them. Anyway, it was a huge change, and Liverpool is and was incredibly vibrant culturally. So, you had loads of different venues, and I was in the theatre company, the Everyman Theatre Company, and there was great art cinemas, and it was so cheap, I think the buses, a taxi from the centre to our house was something like £2. It's just such a cheap city. It's not so cheap now, I don't think, but in the late 70s, early 80s, it was cheap.
And what did you enjoy most about working with Carl Wallinger in the World Party?
He taught me a lot, Carl. He had an extraordinary memory for songs.
Yeah.
So, it's other people's songs.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a lot of jamming in World Party, where we would just play for hours and hours and hours. And he would one Bob Dylan song after another, and then he'd play a Neil Young song, and then he'd play a Hendrix song, and obviously he knew every single Beatles song. So he had this treasure trove of songs he could sing. So it was very educational in that sense to play with somebody that good. And obviously lyrically, for your listeners, he wrote She's the One.
Yeah.
Lyrically, he was an extraordinary lyricist, and I think he upped my game in terms of making sure lyrics are as good as they possibly can be. I take lyrics seriously. I don't like throwaway lyrics or overly cliched lyrics. And I think I got that from him because he was very, very particular about words. Yeah, and he was a lot of fun. He was a very funny band. He had a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I wrote a song with him called And God Said, which is on Bang. If your listeners listen to it, it's only really short. I think it's 30 seconds long, but it's a very funny track. And I think I got my love of funny tracks from him. And there's something that you can hear in the music I wrote with Robbie. No One Likes a Fat Pop Star is a good example of the sort of humorous tracks that we would do. I think I got that from Carl.
That's interesting. Yeah. And then you left World Party and started your own band, The Lemon Trees.
In 91, yeah.
And obviously you're about to release Guy Chambers and the Lemon Trees album, Burst the Bubble, on the 12th of April.
Well, I'm glad you know that.
Yeah.
So are you excited about that?
I am. It's been a long time coming. It's been 30 years. It's good to finally do the songs justice. I wasn't happy with the first record. There were lots of compromises on the first record, and I don't like compromising. This record, I didn't compromise at all. And so I know it's as good as it can possibly be.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice feeling when you put some music out there and it deserves to be out there. Whether it will get acknowledged is down to God. It really is. It's not going to be. I'm doing quite a lot of promotion for it. I'm doing a gig in May in London.
Right.
Hopefully do some gigs outside London. I really hope so. But we'll see what happens, see what kind of response it gets.
So I believe you re-recorded the tracks from your first album, but there are also some new songs as well.
Yeah, no, it was the first, from my favourite songs from the first album, and we also made another album, the second album.
Yeah.
And that was the album that got us dropped.
Yeah.
So Lazy Days was on that album.
Right. We thought that must be the case.
Yeah. And Burst the Bubble was on that record. That's why the album's called Burst the Bubble. There's about 5 from the first album, 5 from the second, or something like that. It's only 10 tracks.
Okay.
And the second album was a bit more progressive than the first. But actually, when you hear them now all together, they all seem to fit perfectly fine. And I thought it was important. I still know these songs are good, and just because they're 30 years old doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. We'll look forward to the 12th of April.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Have you listened to the...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We've listened to the ones you've got out.
You like them?
Yeah, I like Dream Girl.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Good, thank you.
Was that one from the second album?
Yes, it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
And it's nice to hear the original lyrics from Lazy Days as well.
Yeah. I like that version. So let's rewind to the start with Robbie. You met him through your publisher, Paul Curran, who knew Rob's manager, Tim Clark.
That's right.
What were your initial thoughts when you were asked to write with Robbie from Take That?
I didn't really have any thoughts until he called me, and then he said he wanted to do dirty pop. And then I just knew I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what he meant. He didn't have to spell it out.
Yeah.
Because he didn't spell it out. The call was he's not great on the phone.
No.
Rob, he's still not great on the phone. He just said, I want to do dirty pop. I'll see you next, whenever it was, Wednesday or whatever it was. And that was it. Put the phone down.
Yeah.
But I knew what dirty pop meant, which was, to me, was a combination of Oasis, Beatles, and Oasis and Beatles, I guess. And there's quite a big Who influence in the first record. Not that Rob was particularly a Who fan. I mean, he knew Pinball Wizard, but obviously he was also into hip hop. But you don't really get the hip hop influence on the first record. You hear that much more later on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And So what were your first impressions when you moving into Life Thru A Lens phase when you met him in January 97? I believe you helped him move some furniture.
He helped me.
He helped, yeah.
He came to my house, came to my
Yes.
flat in Archway.
Yeah.
And just so happened that morning we were moving a table into the flat. And he got out of the cab and immediately helped us. I thought, well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But after doing that, he didn't talk. He literally wanted to start writing straight away. There was no small talk or let's put the kettle on or nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to start writing. So we did. And South of the Border was written on that very first day.
Yeah.
And I remember when you said cocaine, Katie, I remember thinking, oh, that's good. He's got no fear.
Yeah.
And being courageous in pop music is really important.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not courageous, you will fail.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
And he was, because that lyric is one of my favorite lyrics by him. It's really funny. And it's a very profound song, South of the Border. The way he takes the piss out of the South and still relevant now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he was saying a lot in that lyric. I mean, obviously, I was a Southerner. I am a Southerner. But to me, I'm also an honorary Northerner.
Yeah.
Because when I did the Hillsborough record, I produced that. I got given keys to the city of Liverpool.
Oh, that's nice.
So I feel very, very attached to the North.
Yeah.
Even though obviously you can tell from my voice, I'm very Southern. But I'm part of me. I do have Northern roots as well. So I could relate to his Northern, and I loved his accent. I didn't try and encourage him to sing more American.
Mm-hmm.
He sounds very Northern on the first record,
Yeah.
I think. And I didn't discourage that. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
It is. So you wrote South of the Border on the first day and Angels on the second day.
Yeah.
And then obviously we know you had a sinus infection.
Yeah,
and had
I've
to
said this story very
call a
often.
doctor. But did you know that it was a great song immediately?
Yeah, I did. But I was so ill that I just knocked the demo off really quickly. I don't think he was there longer than an hour that second day. So I was sort of focused on getting better, to be honest. I didn't really realize how good the song was until we recorded it properly in the studio with a band.
Right.
And then I got much more of and then when the orchestra went on, I think actually when the orchestra went on at Angel Studios, I remember he came to that session and we just both started crying. It was just it's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then we really knew.
Yeah.
Not on the
Not
day.
when you first.
He tells the story that you played it to a black cab driver.
Yeah.
Said it was your first number one, Rob. Which of course it never was.
No.
It's another
Sadly.
story.
And what do you say to people who claim Rob had no part in writing Angels or in fact any songs he's co-written? Obviously the fans, I don't think the listeners of this show
No,
think that.
no.
But certainly it is said still occasionally, unfortunately.
Is it still said?
Yeah, you do still see idiots on Twitter saying things like that.
Really? Well, I'm
Yeah.
lucky I don't read Twitter ever. So.
Good thing.
Well, I was there, so I know how much he contributed to every song we wrote.
Yeah.
And I know that the fact that every song is 50-50 is correct and right.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. They're all 50-50 splits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no 35,
No.
no 25-75 to me.
Yeah.
It's all 50-50. And he, without his gift for melody and lyrics and his humour and the way he looked, his unique way of looking at the world, those songs would not have been written.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you've said that you were the responsible one in the partnership. How
Really?
hard was it steering Rob on that first album, especially? Steve Power talked about him not turning up for vocals and then showing up drunk, and obviously we saw a lot of that in the Netflix documentary.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very difficult. A lot of hanging around.
Yeah.
A lot of sort of sinking feeling of, are we ever going to get this done? It was frustrating because I knew the music was really good.
Yeah.
And the tracks sounded amazing. I knew all the songs were really strong. I really loved the first album. In some ways, it's my favorite. But we did get it done. And then he went to rehab the night after he'd sung Angels. And that was just a huge relief when he went to rehab. I was just so relieved.
Yeah.
That he'd finally gotten to step one.
Yeah.
Which is to acknowledge that you're powerless against your addiction.
Yeah. And you were asked to produce Life Thru A Lens too, but you wanted your friend Steve Power, we believe, to help. He told us that he needed some persuading. Did you know that once he'd heard some of the tracks, he'd be up for it?
I actually don't remember the fact that he needed to persuade.
Oh, that's what he told us.
Well, that's interesting that he remembers that. My memory's a bit patchy in general. I have to be quite careful what I say because sometimes the memory's a bit patchy. But no, I don't remember that resistance. Interesting. Once he was committed to it, he was all in.
Yeah.
That's all I will say. Steve's an extraordinarily hard worker. I can lose interest. I've got ADHD, so I can easily get bored.
Yeah.
Whereas he's not like that at all. He's a real stickler for detail and would make me redo things if he didn't think they were good enough. And with Rob's vocals, he was very persistent with someone who wasn't very willing to sing, which has always been a problem with Rob. He's never been big on singing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about writing One of God's Better People? I think Rob said that he absolutely sobbed at your house when you wrote it.
He did. Yeah. Because he wrote it about his mum.
Right.
Yeah.
Jan. Yeah. Yeah, it was really emotional. I've forgotten how emotional it was. But it was. Yeah, really, the vocal on that's extraordinary. The feeling in it.
Yeah.
Such a great, one of his best vocals. Yeah, I think it was like a sort of trying to deal with the divorce of his parents and the hurt that was there. Because obviously his parents, I think he was 2.
Yeah, something like that, I think.
Yeah. And obviously the damage that left behind for a child that young is massive, obviously. He had a lot of pain that needed to come out. It came out in that song, and Killing Me is one of my favourite songs that we ever wrote. There's a lot of pain in that song. Yeah. The song itself is sort of very understated.
Yeah.
Because some of our productions are sort of really overstated.
Yeah.
They're sort of huge. But not that track. It's very stripped back.
Yeah.
And I wish, something I've said to him recently is he should, it would be great if he did a totally stripped back album. I would love to hear him in a sort of Johnny Cash, just acoustic, just a piano, very, very simple.
Yeah.
That's what I would really like.
Yeah,
That's the sort of record I'd like to do with him.
Yeah.
He's never done that, I don't think, has he? Not a whole album.
At the minute, he's not ready to do that, but maybe at some point he will do that. I hope he does at some point.
Yeah, we hope so. Yeah. So what was it like playing at the Albert Hall for the first time in 1998? And then Glastonbury. We'll go on to that. I was there at that one.
You were at the Albert Hall?
I was in Glastonbury.
Oh, okay, great. The Albert Hall was very exciting. Because the view from the stage is extraordinary. I don't particularly remember the show, I'm afraid. I remember going up on the roof with my then girlfriend, and I remember that being very exciting. The view from the top is just ridiculously great. I think I remember him being very nervous, having enormous amounts of nervous energy, but a lot of our shows he was tremendously nervous.
Yeah.
And would have like 16 Red Bulls before going on stage, and it was quite difficult to handle his nervous energy.
Do you get nervous?
Not really. Not on the level that he does.
Right.
No way. But obviously, I'm not the star.
Yeah.
I was either playing the guitar or sat at the back with the key. You know what I mean? I was the musical director, so there was some pressure and everything.
Yeah.
Going right with the band, but the band was incredibly well rehearsed.
Yeah.
We had an amazing band back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then what was it like stepping out onto the stage at Glastonbury? Do you remember that?
We were definitely nervous for that show because we were supporting Blur, and there was a feeling that maybe Blur fans wouldn't like Robbie Williams' music.
Yeah.
So we were definitely, you can see in the documentary how nervous everybody is.
Yeah.
And I was definitely nervous for that show because that was huge. And I knew if Rob sensed that the audience didn't like him, it could have.
Yeah.
I just know, because I know how unbelievably sensitive he is. And it could have gone another way.
Yeah.
I'd been to Glastonbury a year or two before that, and so I'd sort of seen the good, bad, and ugly side of the crowd. I know that the main stage crowd can be a little bit, but I being in that crowd on the day, it was just unbelievable. The feeling of just love in the crowd was just palpable. It was something else. It really was. I mean, the crowd were just completely with him. So, yeah. The
sun coming out when Angels started, that was quite something. I remember that. I remember thinking, wow, God really is on our side.
Yeah.
Which he was and is.
Listener Michelle asks, was there a moment you realised Rob was going to go stratospheric? She's read that you knew Angels would be a hit, but she means an instant when you realised how much of a star he would become, or maybe it was a gradual realisation. And she also wanted to add that she loves it when you talk about Rob's skills as a lyricist, which you've done a lot, because she thinks Rob doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Okay.
It's a big question.
I think I realised how good he was. Well, I hate the word star, it's so overused. But when we did the very first tour of England in September, what was it,
October 97.
97, that first tour, which was just so much fun because we were doing universities and clubs. I realised from the very first gig, which was Watford, which was only half full, actually. That was like a sort of warm-up in a way. I realised as soon as we played on stage, well, actually before then, actually, we were doing televisions before that. We were doing TFI Friday, Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
And he was so good on TFI Friday, for example. We did Old Before I Die there, and we probably did Lazy Days on TFI Friday, maybe. And he was so good on stage and so unbelievably charismatic, and you could just see the effects he was having on girls. And that I knew that would only grow as soon as the music really got appreciated. So so maybe those early TVs I knew, actually.
Right.
Yeah. The very first one, which was, I'm pretty sure the very first one was TFI Friday.
Yeah.
The Old Before I Die.
Yeah.
Which is on YouTube. It's a bit of a bad copy on YouTube, I noticed, for some reason, which I don't know why. Doesn't need to be.
Yeah. So staying with Life Thru A Lens, the 25th anniversary edition was released with some demos and a couple of unreleased songs. Can you tell us a bit about Red Lights, which contains the bridge from She Makes Me High?
Not really.
No.
I don't think I wrote Red Light.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think he wrote that with someone else. And it wasn't good enough to be on the album. So.
No, obviously.
No.
Do you think we'll see any other albums receive the same treatment in the future? Because the I've Been Expecting You 25th anniversary has already passed. So
What a surprise.
we'd like more.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, those 5 albums, I think the first 6 are owned by Universal.
Yeah.
And yeah.
They own the masters, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Hence Rob re-recording his songs. That was the reason he did it.
Right.
So I don't see much cooperation going on. I'm afraid.
That's sad.
Sadly. But it's nothing to do with me.
No, of course.
I understand. So moving on to I've Been Expecting You. With the Lemon Trees, the record company wouldn't release the second album because it was too different from the first. How much pressure did you feel creating I've Been Expecting You after that eventual success of Life Thru A Lens?
Well, the thing was, we started writing I've Been Expecting You the summer of 97. As soon as he got out of rehab, he wanted to write all the time because he had so much energy. So we wrote No Regrets, for example, that summer. And then we went on holiday to Jamaica in January 98. Wrote Grace, Karma Killer. So we were writing we just kept writing.
Yeah.
We were always writing. You know, back then, I don't know if you remember, but when a single came out, there would be at least 3 extra songs or maybe more. Was it?
Sometimes 4,
Sometimes 4. So we always had this demand for a tremendous amount of extra tracks. So we were just writing all the time. It was exhausting, but it was tremendous fun.
I've Been Expecting You is now the UK's best-selling album from 1998 in the UK. It was the 5th at the time, but over time it's now the most successful.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So does it have Rob's best songs on it, do you think? Or is it just that he was so successful that it was inevitable that it was going to sell so many copies?
Yeah. I don't like the word best in music. It's meaningless.
Yeah.
It's not a competition music. It's an art form. You don't say one Picasso painting's better than another. It's the same with songs. But that second album, this is, it's a strong record. It's very varied. I think the sound did progress, but I tried not to make it too different from the first because of the mistakes I made in the Lemon Trees. My favourite songs on that album were definitely No Regrets. I love that song.
Yeah.
What else is on there? I like Karma Killer.
Yeah, same.
I like Phoenix and the Flames is on that one.
Yeah,
that's a very underrated Robbie song. I love that song. Sadly, doesn't perform it anymore.
No, he should.
On it, is he? No.
But that's okay. It's his show.
Yeah. And Steve Powers said that you didn't want Strong to feature on the album, but he told you it was a single. So why weren't you keen? You don't mind sharing?
At the time.
At the time. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I thought the lyric was too personal and not universal enough.
Right.
I think it might have just been that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, get it.
Because obviously Angels is a very universal lyric and that's one of its powers.
Yes.
Strong, no one else would write a lyric like that. It's just completely unique to Rob and his humour.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if everyone would get that.
Yeah.
But luckily they did. I knew the chorus was strong, powerful.
Yes.
Anthemic.
Yes.
I also was a little bit concerned that he was saying to the world, you think I'm strong, I'm not, you're wrong. I wasn't sure if that was the right message to put out there.
Yeah.
But, he was this artist talking about mental health way ahead of it becoming the huge topic that it is now.
Yeah.
But he was already signaling to the world that he was struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can hear that on the first record, a song like Killing Me.
Yeah, that vulnerability does come through.
Incredible vulnerability from the word go. That obviously now Lewis Capaldi, Adele, everyone's talking about how vulnerable they are now. But I think at the time it wasn't so much. You weren't getting that from a Blur or Oasis.
No, definitely not.
Well, not you did from Blur later on, but not right then.
No.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
So Karma Killer is one of my all-time favourite songs, and we love that he performed it in Stoke. I thought it went down really well. Can you remember why there's dogs barking at the end? Because we asked Steve Power about that, and he couldn't even remember them being on the record.
Yeah. It was like put the dogs on you. It's like a sort of...
Like guard dogs or something.
Yeah. Sort of like scary dogs.
Yeah.
He wanted it to be quite a scary track. Oh. There's so much anger in that track.
Yeah.
Towards Nigel Martin Smith. Yeah, I think it was just to make it more angry and scary.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Okay.
I like sound effects.
No, I love it. I think it sounds perfect.
Yeah, it's a unique part of the song.
Of the track.
Yeah.
It kind of is. Yeah. It's just part of the joke of it.
Yeah.
Because there's true anger in that track, but it's also, there's humour in it as well.
Yeah.
Like Bacardi and Coke. Right?
Yeah, exactly. There's always humour in his music.
And then it was Sing When You're Winning, by which time Rob was an established pop star. How much did its success change the way you wrote or produced that album? Or did it?
Obviously, the stakes were getting higher and higher, playing bigger places. He was feeling the pressure. He was very unpredictable. But Sing When You're Winning was a very happy record. The rot didn't set in till later. But I remember that record being very happy and just a joy to make. I actually prefer that album to I've Been Expecting You in some ways. Even though it was difficult to make. I mean, obviously Rock DJ famously, you see it in the Netflix documentary, you can see his reticence and we wrote the lyrics so many times. You can see me. I think I said I'd written it 27 times. Yeah. Well, that wasn't an exaggeration. You might have noticed it was me writing the lyrics out, which isn't really fair. He should have been writing the lyrics out. That was his department. But no, I'm sat there with the pen and the paper. But no, I do really love that album. It's a very, very confident record. We're really on the top of our game at that point. Well, I actually feel that we were on the top of that game straight away. But yeah, we felt very confident that we knew what we were doing.
Yeah. It does come across.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And Steve Power said that Let Love Be Your Energy features guitars from the original version of Lazy Days played backwards.
That's right.
Is there any other tricks like that on this or like that on any other songs?
What, recycling?
Yeah.
Not really.
No.
That was an unusual situation. That was just a sort of bit of an accident.
Ah, okay. I was wondering how it happened.
It was just a bit of an accident that happened. That was written. We had a week with Glenn Ballard. Have you heard of Glenn Ballard?
I've heard the name, but
he worked with Michael Jackson a lot, and he co-wrote Jagged Little Pill.
Right.
Okay.
We had a week with him in a studio writing Bid Theory. And that song came up, and we also worked on Rock DJ. We started Rock DJ that week with him, and we did something else. I think Knutsford City Limits.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the end of the week, he'd been sitting there doing this, putting his hands on his lap, sort of saying how great everything was. And then at the end of the week, Rob came up to me and said, you can have that chat with Glenn. And I said, what chat? He said, well, he hasn't written anything, has he? I went, no, you're right. And he said, well, you need to have that chat with him.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh, thanks for that, Rob. And then he just walked off.
Ah, how awkward.
So I had to sit down with somebody who'd won Grammys and he'd probably got an Oscar by that point as well. I mean, who's like
Wow.
massive writer. And I had to say to him, it's been nice having you here this week, but we are going to give you 0 publishing.
Yeah,
And that was a tough conversation.
Yeah.
imagine. Gosh.
Yeah, we could be quite tough with things like that.
Wow.
But also, we got completely trod on with Rock DJ, with the splits. Absolutely
Because of the samples.
crucified.
Yeah.
Not the samples, because we re-recorded
Oh, right.
the Barry White track. No, it was the using the same chords and using the same rhythm track. The sound of it, and the guy who owned the publishing drove an extremely hard bargain, and I thought we got completely walked all over, to be honest.
Yeah.
Shame, because it's a big song.
Yeah. So Rob told you that he wasn't happy with the polished sheen of Sing When You're Winning in retrospect. At one point he said he hated the record and he was a man on a mission of destruction during promo. Do you think it was just the exhaustion of being pop star Robbie that caused that angst, or what do you think?
Who did you say he hated the record to?
I think I read it in Feel or Reveal that he said that to you or something.
I don't remember him saying he hated it.
No.
But
He did not that he hated the record, but just the polished sheen.
He wasn't sure about the
But I think that was just something he said at the time, not necessarily what he thinks now.
I don't know what he thinks now. No idea. Well, I was aware after that record that he wanted to do something completely different. Yes. Yeah. And that's hence the swing record.
Right.
But I hadn't, it was around that time when he said he wanted to disband Robbie Williams. It was, yeah. But I wasn't sure if it was before the swing record or after it.
It might have been after it, I think. Yeah. Or around that sort of time,
Yeah, when he moved to Los Angeles, basically, he said he wanted to no longer be Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
And be something else.
Yes.
And that's when things really started getting tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. That probably had a big part in his feelings for everything.
I mean, yes, Sing When You're Winning is a polished, shiny pop album.
Yeah.
I love the sound of that record.
I do as well.
As did, how many did it sell? I mean, it did 9 platinum or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it was massive.
Yeah.
I think it did at least 6 million. So, something, I think, we did our best.
Yeah. It was lovely seeing the footage of you and Rob writing Eternity together on the Netflix documentary.
In the graveyard.
Yeah. He seemed to come up with the lyrics on the spot. Was that often the case?
Yeah.
You don't think he sort of had them in his head already and then he'd sit down with you and...
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
But he would often come up with great ideas very quickly. Yeah, he's very gifted with words. And he's very spontaneous and very musical.
Yeah.
As you can see in that clip, that is the real thing happening.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've loads of other clips of us writing together that they didn't use.
Right.
So I want to make a documentary.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
About the music, not about mental health.
We would absolutely love that.
Yes.
Well, but the problem is just finding someone who wants to invest in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be like a dream come true.
It would, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the fans obviously said that they enjoyed the documentary, but real, true fans would love to hear more about the actual songwriting process and, the actual...
Yeah.
Like you say.
Well, there is plenty of footage.
Yeah.
There's plenty. There's loads of great footage of us writing together that wasn't used.
Right.
Yeah.
There's 48 minutes of my footage in that doc, but there's 200 hours of footage.
Wow. I mean, in a way, that's part of the reason why we started the podcast. And when we spoke to Rob, was it in December? I think it was last December.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was so appreciative of the fact that we're actually delving into the music. And, you know, we're not a gossip podcast. We do talk about him and we talk about the people he's worked with, obviously, but it's more about how did it happen. And, you know, the creativity that Rob has really been highlighted in every interview we've had. And I think some people don't always see that. You know, they see the veneer of the pop star, and, you know.
Yeah.
It's important that people understand that.
So yeah,
it is.
That'd be amazing if you could make that happen.
Well, it's getting someone to fund it.
Right.
Yeah.
So another broadcaster to say, "Oh, that sounds like a nice idea."
Yeah.
Somebody has to sit with the footage.
Right.
Yes.
But I'm 100% behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rob probably would. I've mentioned it to his manager, but it's maybe there needs to be a bit of, I know they're very focused on the biopic.
Yes.
So
maybe that all needs to happen.
Yeah. It would be a nice follow on from that.
Yeah. But maybe it will be a few years' time.
Yeah. So we also love Kylie. What was it like working with her on Kids, and how does it feel knowing she still includes that song in a lot of her live sets?
Oh, it feels great because I love her too. No, I wasn't quite sure how she was chosen to do Kids. But I remember I think it probably was his idea. But I remember being really delighted that he picked her. But there wasn't really any other competition, really. I don't think. There wasn't anybody better in the UK at that time.
Yeah.
No.
And then when we met her, we hung out and wrote a bit, a few different occasions. And she was really great fun to hang out with. We remember she stayed the night in a studio in Hampshire, and we had fun. And after the first night of sort of writing, and then we had this sort of little disco in the studio and dancing with her, and it was like, wow, this is funny. I'm dancing with Kylie Minogue. Oh my god. She's such a beautiful. She was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was just like, wow.
Mm.
Great vitality, fun, sense of fun. And you hear that in the songs that we wrote for her record. The songs like Love Boat and Your Disco Needs You. I don't know if you know that song.
Oh, yes. That's one of my all-time favourites.
Yes.
Okay, well,
that's what we were about to ask about.
The three of us wrote that together.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted Rob to do his own version.
Yes.
Oh,
he has said once that he would.
We'd love him to
maybe
do
on
that.
an Under the Radar or something.
Yeah. Okay. It would need to be a big production though, so I don't know if it's I don't know if it's an Under Radar song.
Right,
I think it deserves a bit more to it than that.
Yeah.
It would be good if he did a version of that record.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Because he should claim that.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's got so many songs. It's difficult for him.
Yeah.
But I know I loved working with Kylie very much. And it's great that she still sings both of those songs, Kids and Your Disco Needs.
Yeah, it's great. And we love how you wrote the songs videos that you've been sharing on your social media.
Yeah, we've been enjoying those.
Thank you.
Our friends at the Kylie and Danny Minogue podcast, This Is Disco, would love you to do one about Your Disco Needs You, which is obviously one of the best gay anthems ever.
Sure.
Yeah, you reckon you could do that? That would be incredible.
Possibly.
And they'd also like to know if there's any other Kylie songs in the vault that
there
were
are
never released.
There's a song called Disco Symphony.
Oh, yeah.
That ended up in our musical Boy in the Dress.
Oh, yes.
At one point, well, she sung on that.
Yeah.
That was going to be a Robbie single at one point. But unfortunately, he changed his mind and didn't want to release it.
No.
Right.
I think it's an extra track, isn't it, on
25.
Yeah.
With just him singing.
With just him singing. But the version of them together is the best version.
Oh, it's like a dream.
No, really, well, they had this great idea for a video as well, which was both of them in an old people's home.
Oh, yeah.
with, you know, looking like they're 80, and then they're watching old videos of themselves when they're young, and then they gradually get younger and younger and younger in the video, and they start dancing, and everybody, the old people, they'll suddenly get younger. They rip off their dressing gowns, and I thought it was a wonderful idea for a video.
Sounds great.
In fact, that was Kylie's idea. It was a really great idea, but for whatever reason, Rob got tired of the track, or he went off the idea, which
Right.
he does this.
He does often.
He gets bored of things.
Yeah. So how was producing the Swing When You're Winning album for you?
It was fun, you know. We went to Capitol Studios, which is famous for its history. Is extraordinary. You know, you walk through the hallways and there's pictures of Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra, and they have Frank Sinatra's mic, which Rob used. It's on the cover, the one that he's singing into. That's
right.
Frank Sinatra's mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nat King Cole sang in that mic. I mean, it's the history is just really mind-boggling. And the musicians we had were like the best musicians in America.
Yeah.
And we had Al Schmidt, who engineered it. He'd won more Grammys than any engineer in history. So he was like a legend and such a nice guy. And the whole thing was a joy, really. And doing one for the road, one for my baby, one for the road with Frank's pianist, who's, I think he was 80 something. He drove to the studio. I think he was about 88.
Wow.
But he still played that song beautifully, and that was a real moment when they performed that together.
Yeah.
It was very brave of Rob to do that.
Yeah,
Really
it was.
brave.
Yeah.
Another example of his courage.
Yeah.
Because it could have gone horribly wrong,
Yeah.
but it didn't.
Yeah.
Seemed as though he was in his element.
He was,
So-
and I think he was really enjoying not being Robbie.
Mm.
I think to him that was a bit of a Robbie holiday.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And we absolutely love I Will Talk and Hollywood Will Listen.
Thank you.
one
That's
of
a
our
beautiful
faves.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
He doesn't often perform it.
No.
No. It's kind of funny that it's almost coming true with the biopic coming out.
Well, hold on, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Well, that's true. Well, it is being released in the USA,
America.
though.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean I've heard it's. I know people who've seen it, and they said it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything.
And how different was Rob when working on the swing music? Was he sort of...
I think he was more
interested?
relaxed
Right.
Mm.
because he wasn't about him.
Mm-hmm.
The words aren't about his life.
Yeah.
I suppose I Will Talk was sort of about his moving to America and starting again. Aspirational lyric.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it was a bit of a holiday for him making that record. It was relatively easy for him to make because we did it really quickly, that record. I think maybe 3 weeks.
Mm.
So, yeah, I think he liked the fact it was quick, relatively easy, much less pressure.
Mm.
Yeah, I think for his mental health, he needed that at the time.
Yeah. And how did you choose the songs? Who chose them? Did you choose them together? Or?
He pretty much chose the songs.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they're all his favourites
Yeah.
that he'd grown up with. Yeah, I don't really remember choosing the songs.
Yeah.
I was more involved with Swing Both Ways.
Yeah.
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 So moving on to Escapology,
Mm.
the UK's best-selling album of 2002.
Mm.
Feel is an outstanding song and one you've both said that you're still very proud of.
Mm.
An opera singer recorded vocals for it, which weren't used.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what's sometimes played at the beginning during gigs?
It is that.
Ah,
Well
okay.
spotted.
Glad I recognised that.
Yeah, we decided at one point the opera singer sang over the solo section and in the last chorus. But what we realised that once we put the slide guitar solo on, there was no space for anything else. And also an opera singer at the end was just a bit distracting. It was one of my... Didn't always get decisions right. I would try things out, and they didn't always work out.
Yeah.
But in the end, that session was useful for his live concerts.
Yeah.
It wasn't a waste, actually.
No, it still sounds great when you hear that live.
It's super dramatic.
It's like haunting. You know what's coming.
Yeah, no, it's super dramatic. So there was a reason to do it.
Yeah.
In the end.
And the tension between you and Rob on Escapology is well known. Obviously, it's evident in the Netflix documentary. What would you like to say about that period? How was it watching it back, and how do you feel about it now?
It wasn't an easy watch,
No.
obviously. It was pretty sad.
Yeah.
We were both struggling. I was struggling with my demons, and he was struggling with his. We weren't really talking,
Yeah.
We weren't really talking. We weren't hanging out anymore.
Yeah.
It was his camp, my camp. It was a real shame. So there's a lot of sadness that it broke down to that extent, because obviously there's still really good songs on that record.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's not a bad record. It was a real struggle to make technically. Did Steve Power tell you how difficult it was to make?
I can't really remember exactly what he said about it. I think he said he just sort of powered through and tried to just keep everything on track. Did he say something like that?
Which he did brilliantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we had technical problems with that record. Like the studio we used had terrible problems with monitoring meaning the speakers. And it sounded horrible in there.
Oh, no.
We just couldn't tell if anything was any good. I put the speakers on the floor at one point. We just didn't know what was going on. So it was like being in the dark. It was a very dark record, full stop. I mean, it was lots of dark forces around, and Rob's management were very focused on his record deal.
Yeah.
So that was a big subject of conversation, was, we went to see such and they've offered this much and blah, blah, blah. And it sort of became a big topic. The money was just getting absolutely huge. And I think it was distracting. And, well, that on top of the fact that we weren't getting on, and he thought that I didn't respect his songwriting outside our songwriting.
Yeah.
So that was a big negative for him.
So we've all heard about the difficulties that arose between you, especially over Come Undone.
Yeah.
And it's still one of Rob's most popular songs. And how do you feel about it now? You like it now?
Of course I like it. Yeah, I mean, I could see when I was playing live with him, I could see how important it was for his fans and for him. So yeah, I grew to like it.
Yeah, that's good. And apparently How Peculiar was a stream of consciousness that came out of Rob's mouth during recording with no pre-written lyrics, done in one take.
Correct.
Do you remember that? Wow.
I do.
Because they're kind of insane lyrics, aren't they?
We were actually meant to be playing him a mix of something, I forget what it was, but luckily I had a beat that I wanted to play in, which is the beat that you hear on the record. I had just had a loop ready for anyway, and I just plugged my guitar in and off we went, and that's what came out.
Wow.
The whole song was done like that. It was unbelievable. And it was just stream of consciousness.
Wow.
And it's quite something. He was very excited. That's all I can say.
Me and My Monkey is a big fan favourite. Can you tell us any more about writing that?
Yeah, it was inspired by being in Las Vegas when we were doing promotion in America.
Right.
Yeah.
And we stayed at the Mandalay Bay Hotel.
Yeah.
It's mentioned in the lyric. It's a story of what happened to him in the Mandalay Bay Hotel.
Okay.
That's it. And, his monkey, that's his shadow.
Yeah.
That's his demon.
Yeah.
Which he's always had.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's I love that song, and I love the Mexican kind of feel to it. I love the brass on it. I love the chords. I remember finishing it while we were on tour in Asia, in Bangkok of all places, and literally writing it in the dressing room just before we're going on stage, because it took a while to finish. And then we demoed it in Australia at Hank Marbin's studio. I remember that, in this very funny studio, tiny studio, like this kind of size.
Yeah.
And but the whole band was in there. It was fun. No, I love that song. It's one of my favourites from that record.
Yeah.
There's some, I'm not happy with all of that record, but I like that song, and I like You Gotta Love Somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very underrated Robbie song.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the problems with that song is, he's never, well, I don't know if he ever did he ever play it live? I don't know.
I don't think
I don't
so.
remember hearing it live.
No.
It's a bit of a shame because it's really powerful, that song.
Mm.
Vocal is incredible.
It is.
So,
It is incredible.
it just goes right through you, doesn't it? You
Yeah.
just really feel it.
No, he really meant it.
Yeah.
So Rob included your song Blasphemy on Reality Killed the Video Star.
Mm-hmm.
And when asked at the time, he said you were mates again and there were no bad feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And you stayed at his house and tried writing together, but it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Wanted's Let's Get Ugly from that period? Or was that from somewhere?
Yeah, no, it's from that period.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a version of him singing that with Gary Barlow.
Oh, didn't know that.
It's a really cool version. It's way better than the Wanted version.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he didn't want to release it, which is a bit of a shame because I think that song's really good.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great sample. Anyway, we'd become friends, and it was nice that he used Blasphemy, because Blasphemy was the last song we wrote before the split in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a nice squaring the circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good song. I mean, it's a powerful song. It's sort of about the bad atmosphere that was going on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was it like playing with Rob on stage again at his Take the Crown show at the O2 in 2012?
It was emotional.
Yeah.
And I was very nervous being on that crazy stage. I don't remember the stage. It was very unusual.
In the round.
Yes.
In the round.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, wow, this is weird.
People
Wow.
everywhere.
People everywhere, exactly. And I hadn't been on stage since 2002.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh, wow.
a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
But it felt good, even though I could see he was struggling with being a performer still.
Yeah. Yeah. And had you already started work on Swings Both Ways by then? Or
No.
did that come later?
Later.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
We started work on that in January 2014.
Right.
And you wrote Go Gentle, which is one of my all-time favourites.
Good. One of mine too.
Oh, it's a beautiful song. Had Rob's working style changed since you had last written with him?
Yeah, I'd say so. He was a lot more distracted than in the early days. His laptop had become a big part of his life. Quite hard to get his attention. So in that first day of writing together, it was really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Really, really difficult. It nearly completely failed.
Yeah.
But luckily I persevered and just kept going until we eventually found something that we both liked. But he rejected a lot of ideas before that I'd come up with specially for him.
Right.
But for whatever reason, they weren't good enough or whatever.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
And you mentioned about Popstar before, but we think it sounds absolutely sublime on that album.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rob said, if I'd have really realised that there were 80 people in the orchestra playing on that song, I probably would have hung Guy Chambers were an absolute waste of money. There are many sides to Guy, and one side is his flamboyant daftness. It's a stroke of genius, and I'm so pleased and glad he did it.
That's a very, very conflicting sentence. Did you say that all in one sentence?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you say that?
It was in Reveal.
It would have been in Reveal.
Yeah.
It's a hard read for me, Reveal.
Yeah.
But it rings true with what Steve Power said, that he was the level-headed one, and you'd have these wild ideas, and he'd have to try and sell it to the record company.
Yeah.
But
what do you have to remember with No One Likes a Fat Pop Star? Yes, there's an 80-piece orchestra, but they weren't just there for that.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They were
I mean,
doing
that
other
really
songs
would
as well.
be very eccentric.
Yes.
Just to do that song with an 80-piece, and very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But, you know, we would do like 4 songs in 3 hours. So we probably did Go Gentle, Fat Pop Star. We probably did Distract, Swing Both Ways with Rufus Wainwright, and we did another song. You know, we didn't just.
So it wasn't just for that song.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yes, I can. Yes, I can throw. I can be flamboyant. Yes, there's part of me that is very grandiose, and I do get carried away with things. I mean, that is a ridiculous song, I know.
Yeah, but that's what makes it brilliant.
Oh, it's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, I remember when we performed it on the Swing Both Ways tour. It was a highlight of the show for me.
Yeah.
It really was, when he was hung in the fat suit.
Yeah.
And I miss that side of his humour. That side. He's got many sides to his humour, but I thought that was a wonderful show, that show.
Yeah, it was. It was great.
Yeah.
I hope he does. He's got plans to do another one. I think he wants to do another swing tour. I'm sure
That
he
would
will.
be great.
At some point.
A listener to the podcast, Silka from Germany, asks, when the first Under the Radar was announced, Rob said you thought he was mad for not releasing those songs on a proper album. Well, we thought it was the most amazing gift for the fans.
Yeah.
Which of the Under the Radar songs do you think should have gone on an album and made it big?
I'd have to look at them.
Okay.
I'd have to get my phone.
There's a lot.
My favourite is All Climb On.
Okay. Yeah,
Love
that's a
that
good song. There's another one, though, that... Hold on. I mean, I like The Edge.
Yeah, that's beautiful as well.
The Pilot, strong. National Treasure's really strong.
Yeah.
On that one, and then the second one, I haven't got any songs on the second one.
You've got No Fucks and Indestructible on.
I like No Fucks.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah,
one. That's one of your
that's a favourite.
I think that
Definitely.
could have been a single.
Yeah.
If you got to remember that when we did the singles, we always prioritize the singles over the album tracks. So if I'd fully prioritized that song, it would have gone a whole level up from where it got to, but we never really finished it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a demo basically, you know. So
Doesn't
it's
sound like a demo to me.
well, to me that's a demo compared to what it could have been.
Right. Okay.
I can't find the other ones.
No.
But yeah, No Fucks is a really catchy song, really catchy, and I mean, but it's very difficult, isn't it? Because he's so prolific. It's hard for him to hold all this material back.
Yeah.
And it's his decision to put it all out there.
Yeah.
And so we have to mention the national anthem. That's also a classic that needs mentioning.
Yeah.
We love the thought of you riding a bike in Europe and creating that in your head.
That's exactly what happened.
Just came to you, did it?
I was very hungover, and I'm often I'm creative when I'm hungover, and because I don't care. I'm a bit more open, I think, when I'm hungover to some more unusual ideas.
Yeah.
And I just started that melody, da, 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 which is Elgar.
Yeah.
And then I came up with the God Save Our Robbie, and I just started making myself laugh. And then I got off the bike and sang the idea into my phone. And then I came up with more lyrics, and I'd stop again and write them down. And then I basically wrote the whole lyric pretty much. And then I remember I got really excited about it. And then when I met Rob in the dressing room, And they said, "You've just got to listen to this." And I got his manager in. David was still alive then.
Yeah.
Because I knew David would find it funny. And I just sang it. I put the track on and just sang it in front of them and sold it to them. and they were, I think they thought I was probably nuts, but it's, it works.
It does.
It does. And the joy that it creates in the audience, it's just, you know, when we've obviously seen the show several times, usually when you see people that haven't heard it before, just the delight and the joy in their faces, it just, it did something, didn't it? It really energized the beginning of the show, which...
This idea of making people joining in something before he comes on stage, it just adds to the expectation of what you're about to see. And I've always been a very big fan with him of making the build up. Do you remember there was a tour where we had an announcer who was actually David Williams saying, I think the first thing he said, in 15 minutes, Robbie Williams will come on stage. And
I do remember that.
Do you remember that one? Then there was, in 10 minutes, Robbie Williams will be on stage. He has requested that nobody looks at him.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
And then there was 5 minutes. And I think we had a 5 minutes and a 1 minute. And I think the 1 minute was really silly. It was something like, in 1 minute, Robbie Williams will be on the stage. You're going to shit yourselves. or just something like it was funnier than that. But it was, and that's when because I'd known David for years, and I remember him coming to my house and recording those, and it was really funny. But we've always, I think with him, his star power is such that you can really work on getting that expectation up before he even gets getting the build up going. Before he finally appears. I'm a big fan of that. That tease.
Oh, definitely. And then moving on to the heavy entertainment show, I've heard you say that Prokofiev is one of your favourite composers. I know Party Like a Russian started with this song title, but when did you get the idea for using Prokofiev's sample? When did that come to you?
We were looking around for Russian music.
Oh, okay.
It's as simple as that. And I guess that is probably the most famous, one of the most famous, from Romeo and Juliet's Dance of the Capulets. And I just thought it might work. And then Richard Flack, who co-produced that record, he's brilliant at finding loops that would go for something that's quite unusual. Because the feel of Party Like a Russian is quite unusual because it's swung. So da 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 da, and that's quite an unusual groove these days. But it worked. I mean, that track took forever. I think we worked on it for at least 6 months.
Oh wow,
maybe longer. It was such a pain in the arse, and the lyric got rewritten and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, and it was painful. But it's what I really love. The track. It's such a shame that it can't be performed anymore.
Yeah, it is.
I find that's really sad and annoying because it's a killer track.
Yeah,
it really is. And the video is, I'm in the video.
Yes, we've noticed. We like that.
That was a wonderful shoot. It was just, I love that video.
Yeah, it's very eye-catching.
Yeah, he's brilliant in it, and all the dancers. And it's got that humour and bravado, and it's got
Hatfield House
swag. Yeah, it was Hatfield House. I mean, I love that video. There's some really good videos around that time, and the heavy entertainment show video with the boxing is extraordinary. And again, that has a sample of that Serge Gainsbourg sample on that track, which we were lucky enough to get permission to use without being crucified this time.
That's good. And you've co-written with Jewel in the past, and she's credited as a songwriter on David's song.
That's right.
Was this a song that you wrote together that Robbie later joined in on?
Yeah. So it existed before. Funny enough, when it was written with Jewel and a woman called Cara de Guardia, when I came up with the melody, I was thinking of Rob, but at that time we weren't in contact. But so I couldn't actually send it to him at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I did this compromise song, which wasn't very good with them. And I remember saying to her the following morning, I want to take the music back.
Oh.
And she went absolutely bananas. She did not like that. She got very angry. And so it was funny when I did finally play it to him many, many years ago later. He could see what a good melody it was. So that's why there's a split. So it's unfortunately, because it took the melody, even though it was my melody, not theirs. That's not how it works with song. You have to credit everyone.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then the Royal Shakespeare Company asked you to compose the music for The Boy in the Dress.
Mm-hmm.
You felt you couldn't do it alone, and as Rob's first passion is football, you asked him to collaborate. Will it ever reach the West End as planned before COVID? I think you had 2 new songs planned for it, didn't you? So I thought
we were going to change elements of it, and we are working on it. We are going to be working on it again soon, because there is somebody who wants to put it on now, finally.
Oh, great.
It might take a while. It's going to be put on somewhere, a provincial theatre initially, and then it will tour, and then hopefully it will end up in the West End.
Right.
But it won't be next year. It might be the year after next.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. We loved watching that.
Yeah, we enjoyed that, didn't we?
It's a great show.
Yeah.
It was a really great show. It's a shame that it was meant to go into the Savoy Theatre the year that the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
But obviously everything stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But we've also written another one. We've written Gangster Granny as well.
Oh, that's what we were about to ask.
We were going to ask you about that. Yes.
Yeah, which is just as good as Boy in the Dress. Just as good. The songs are really great. That's the last time I really wrote with Rob, apart from the Felix cat advert.
Oh, yes.
We love that coming on when we're watching telly. It's good.
One of our listeners, Angela from Scotland, asks, what's your favourite Robbie album? Do you have one?
Yeah, I think probably Life Thru A Lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
I also really love the Heavy Entertainment Show album. I think it's a very, very strong record.
Yeah.
Because it's so varied and eccentric, and we were really getting on great making that record.
Yeah.
We really, really got close again. Yeah. So I like Swing Both Ways is a really lovely, look into his campsite.
Yes. Especially in the Vegas show, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Vegas show, which was great fun.
Yeah. And what made you come up with the reorchestrating Rob's songs for 25? Did you enjoy reworking your old hits?
Not really.
No?
It was too much like hard work.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it was extremely hard because the original records were so good.
Yeah.
So beating them or even matching them, very, very difficult. So it was a very difficult record, I have to say.
Yeah. Which song are you proudest of on that album?
Probably No Regrets.
Yeah.
I think that version is as good as the original. You could maybe argue that it's even better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
But there aren't many examples of that. But I would say that song, we definitely nailed that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was great live as well.
Yeah.
One of our listeners, Alan from Yorkshire, asks, are there any rules that you think can't or shouldn't be broken when it comes to composing music?
No.
Ah.
I don't believe in rules.
No.
I really don't. Although there's certain I'd call them guidelines.
Yeah.
One of them is don't go over a minute to present the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go over 4 minutes if you possibly can. Although Angels does. So there's a rule broken straight away, a guideline broken. I think it's important when you write a song that each part of the song is immediately identifiable. So therefore, it's constantly changing so people know where they are I think that's quite a good guideline. Make sure the key suits the singer.
Mhm.
Push them as hard as they can. Make sure that people can, when we were working on the albums, we'd play, especially in the early days, we'd invite random people into the studio,
right,
and play tracks to them. And if you can see it in the documentary, you can see girls in the studio. They're just random people off the street or from the local pub. And we would just ask them back and say, can we play our record to you? It was a bit of an audience research. That's all it was. And if people weren't tapping their feet to a song, I'll be like, oh, there's something wrong with this song. They're not tapping their feet.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel right. It's too slow. It's too fast. Whatever.
Yeah.
Things like that. I'm a big believer in road testing stuff with people, not just your friends. Play it to the plumber.
Yeah.
And when recording with Rob, you give him a mic as soon as he walks in, and you record everything that happens, as sometimes what he sings first can be the best and won't be repeated.
Mm-hmm.
Any other tricks you use when writing or recording with him?
Well, in the early days, we would have a pretty girl in the studio sometimes.
Yeah, Steve Power mentioned that.
Yes, Steve did mention that.
That's more likely to keep him there longer. Making him focus. He would show off, basically, to this woman. And that was a trick. That doesn't apply now, but back then. Try and... I think the biggest thing is just being 100% ready when you walk through the door to get it done as quickly as possible, because you've always got very limited time with him because his attention span is so short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'd be very ready. And to say, record everything that he does. And the first time, Feel, that's his first time. The vocal on Feel is the first time he sang it.
Yeah. Because it couldn't be bettered, apparently. Is that right?
No, we tried to get him to sing it again, but he couldn't get it as good as the first time.
Yeah. So Ruben from New Zealand asks, are there any B-sides that you're particularly proud of? Songs like Ugly Love and Come Take Me Over don't get enough credit in his opinion.
I like, there's a song called Toxic.
Oh, yeah. That's
that I
song.
really like. I think that's my favourite B-side.
Right.
Yeah. Love that one.
Yeah.
Jocelyn from USA asks, where do inspirations for songs mostly come from?
It depends. Sometimes it's samples can be very inspiring, like the John Barry thing we used for Millennium. Sometimes it can be with Eternity, that was written about a holiday and beautiful time, trying to sort of say, be grateful for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a sort of prayer, really, a great gratitude prayer. That's what that song is, saying how much you are grateful for that time that you had. Because we did have a very lovely, it wasn't strictly speaking a holiday. I mean, it was a writing holiday.
Yeah.
Right.
In the documentary, there's actually lots of footage of us writing on that holiday. They didn't really use that in the documentary, but...
I just used the Jerry bits.
Yeah, exactly. But there's also, yes, she was there, but we were writing a lot.
Yeah.
As always. What else? Well, be curious. I think curiosity is so important. Be curious in what people are saying, what is going on in the world. I'm a big believer in recharging your cultural batteries. So, when I'm on tour, I will always be going to art galleries and getting inspiration from paintings or sculptures or museums. Don't do it. I haven't done it for a while, but I'm a big believer in cultural, being cultured.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And Silke would like to know if there's a song you underestimated how popular it would eventually become.
Come On Down.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
I definitely underestimated that song.
Yeah.
Sarah Cinco from Canada asks, what did you think of Rob's music, especially Rude Box, when you weren't working together? Any gems you particularly liked?
On Rude Box.
Well, yeah, I guess on Rude Box or around that era. Maybe Reality Killed the Video Star album as well.
I was quite shocked by Rude Box.
Yeah, it was quite different to anything you'd been doing.
Yeah. But I understood why he did it, because I knew he'd always wanted to write something like that, put something out like that, because he was such a huge hip-hop fan and a dance music fan. But I don't know if I don't really know those records very well,
No.
to be honest.
Yeah, you'd probably just heard the singles.
No.
I definitely heard the singles, yeah.
Would you ever write an autobiography? Or have you thought about that?
Well, yeah. Well, I do keep a diary.
Yeah.
I have a diary going back to 1995. Pretty much every day from 1995 to now. So I do have the resources to do it. I thought about it. I'm not sure. Maybe.
I'm sure you got lots of other stories to tell other than just Robbie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I do. And I would like to be really honest, but I don't know if I'm really honest, if it would upset him. Because he can get upset about things.
Yeah.
Understand.
Have you had any input at all into the Better Man movie? Like, have you?
In the early days, very beginning, I did. I spoke to Michael Gracie a bit about my character. He sent me a script with me in it, and I wasn't happy with how I was portrayed. So I talked to him about it, and he changed. I believe he changed it. Whether, I don't know.
Guess we'll wait and see.
I mean, I'm not really in the film much. I'm in it 2 scenes.
Oh, okay.
I'm hardly in it.
Wow.
So, but it was a bit upsetting when I first saw the script, because the way it characterized me was as a sort of very posh, condescending public school sort of character, which, I mean, I went to state school. I'm definitely not public school.
Yeah.
I mean, I sound posh, but I wasn't brought up posh. You know, we weren't a rich family. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich. So I didn't like the characterization. I came over, I was very rude, and it was quite upsetting.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that's been changed.
I have no power over it.
No, of course.
It's Michael Gracie's film.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not my film.
And over the years, what gigs, are there any gigs that have stood out for you in particular?
We did a show at the Troxy.
Yeah.
Did you? Were you at
I
that
was
one?
there, yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah,
you went to that
I
one.
went to that one without you,
That was an exceptional show.
Yeah. When Take That came on and you did Back for Good, the punk version.
We did The Flood as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had an extraordinary amount of dancers. I don't remember the beginning. That opening of that show was quite something. I really loved that show. Loved the London Palladium show we did. That was a really great show.
Yeah.
The Swing Both Ways tour. No, the Swing Both Ways tour was a nightmare. I don't even want to talk about it. It was just awful.
Oh dear.
Because he was very ill. But the Swing tour was. No, I mean, sorry, I'm not. It's the Heavy Entertainment show where he was ill. No.
Oh yeah.
The Swing Both Ways tour was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that tour. And I suppose the last gig I did with him was in Hamburg with an orchestra.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
That looked amazing.
Yeah, no, that I did enjoy that show, and it was a nice final thing to do.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the Under the Radar gig? in Camden?
Yeah, I did. It was fun to see him so happy on stage.
Yeah.
Because he's not always happy on stage.
No.
He really, really enjoyed it. So I enjoyed that. Yeah, no, it was fun to do different stuff. It was.
Yeah. So what's the best thing about working with Rob?
Is that word best again?
Oh, sorry.
The
There's
most
lots of
interesting thing.
the most. He is. You know, he's an extraordinarily complex, interesting, funny, confusing, annoying. He's a very complex human being, so you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
it's very unpredictable. So it was always constantly interesting, never boring, always surprising, and we, with maybe a couple of exceptions, I think our strike rate of quality is very high. So I always knew that something good would come out of whatever we wrote. I don't think there's many bad songs.
Yeah.
Well, the bad ones didn't get released. And yeah, so I'm proud of the catalogue, and we definitely were soulmates for a while.
Yeah.
This is a tough final question. But if you could rewind to a highlight in your career and relive it, what would you pick?
Probably Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Because I haven't done Glastonbury since, so I might never do it. So I guess,
yeah,
Glastonbury was amazing. It really was.
I think you'd go back to them as well, wouldn't you?
I would. It was incredible. Absolutely.
It was a game changer, a turning point.
Yeah.
So what's next for you and the Lemon Trees?
Putting this album out, Burst the Bubble, and I am doing a show in London in May the 12th, so 13th, May the 13th, and doing a video for it, doing a video promo, and hopefully doing some more shows, hopefully. And I'm working on a film at the moment for Universal Pictures and animation. I'm working on another musical with someone else. We start work on that September. Working with Matteo Bocelli, producing him. I'm pretty busy.
Yeah. Good.
Well, thank you for spending the time with us. It's been very inspirational to speak to you, and incredible to hear your journey with Rob and your own journey, and wish you well with the Lemon Trees. We will come along if we can in May. It's quite close to your birthday, so we'll have a birthday night out with the Lemon Trees.
Yeah.
Please do.
Thank you, Guy.
Thank you.
Really
no problem.
Robbie Williams Rewind.